Hi guys, my name's Davy. I hope you're all right. It's an awesome day for a vid, so let's start the show. Everyone dreams of finding treasure. We've all fantasized about finding a stash of gold and jewels, being instantly rich, like in the movies. But this isn't just fantasy. People have found underwater treasure troves for real, and there are still billions in lost undersea treasure out there just waiting to be found. Joining us is my sidekick Cree on the screen.
Hello!
He's our studio tech whiz. He shows all the video, and the audio, and special effects for the channel. Cool effect, Cree. Back to the treasure. Here's our first story. Number 5, the Bay Battle Treasure. In 1702, Europe was at war, and a fleet of Spanish ships is crossing the Atlantic. They were packed with 3 years' worth of plundered treasures from the Americas. 3,000 tons of gold and silver were on 17 Spanish ships, protected by 24 French warships. As they neared Spain, their destination port of Cadiz was under attack, so they diverted to Vigo Bay. Some treasure was unloaded, but tons remained on the anchored ships. Their enemies, the British and Dutch, heard of the treasure. They sailed for Vigo Bay, and the attack was on. French ships defended the bay, but they were outgunned. 18 of their ships were burned or sunk in a matter of hours. Out of options, the Spanish had to keep the gold out of enemy hands. Desperate, they set fire to the treasure galleons and abandoned ship. But the English still captured a few of them with their treasure and set sail for England. They later minted the gold and stamped it from Vigo too. This treasure was so famous, author Jules Verne included a fictional recovery of it in his book 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Over the centuries, several treasure hunting groups dove to find it. Some brought up thousands of silver coins. Others found some gold coins and cannons, but many found nothing. So there are still many millions in gold and silver underneath Vigo Bay today. How much is there? Only the Spanish crown knew how many tons of treasure were lost, and they kept it a secret. Shh. The next treasure was lost during World War II. Number 4, Treasure Overboard. It's 1942, World War II. The Japanese army has invaded the Philippines. American and Filipino forces fight back, but they are outnumbered, unable to stop the Japanese advance. With Manila threatened, the country's currency reserves are taken to the U.S. fortress island of Corregidor in Manila Bay. But soon, Corregidor is surrounded. To keep the national treasure out of Japanese hands, all the gold and some silver was sneaked out in the USS Trout, a Navy submarine. Slipping by the Japanese naval fleet, the submarine made it all the way to Pearl Harbor. This part of the treasure was safe in Allied hands. But Corregidor was under siege, and the battle continued. There were tons of silver and millions in currency still there. With surrender imminent, all the paper currency was ordered burned. Then, to hide the silver from the Japanese, the Navy was ordered to dump all the tons of silver into Manila Bay.
Whoa!
Minesweeper Harrison took on the unreal job of dumping this huge treasure into the ocean. Over 10 nights, boxes filled with tons of silver peso coins were dumped into the bay. The next month, Corregidor surrendered. The Japanese heard of the silver and later forced captured American and Filipino divers to bring up silver. Much was recovered, but lots more remained. After the Allied victory, the U.S. Navy returned. The USS Teak crew searched for the sunken treasure, and they also recovered many of the silver coins. After all that diving by two militaries and other treasure hunting companies later, several million coins were found. But treasure is still there. It's estimated over 3 million silver coins are still on the bottom of Manila Bay. Next, we come back to the USA for a huge lost treasure. Number 3, the Florida Fleet Treasure. It was the year 1715 in Havana, and a fleet of 11 Spanish treasure ships set sail for Spain. Their cargo holds full of millions of silver pieces of 8, gold doubloons, plus gold bars and gemstones from their colonial empire, worth billions today. Passing Florida, they sailed right into a massive hurricane. The waves and the winds blew them into the coast. Soon, nearly all the Spanish galleons were sunk or wrecked on the shoreline. Most of the people perished. Only one ship survived. This was probably the single biggest loss of treasure in history. Most of the ships ran aground on Florida's beaches. Survivors and early treasure hunters recovered much of that treasure. Centuries passed until the 1960s, when American treasure hunters discovered remnants of the treasure fleet off the coast. Millions in gold, silver, and jewelry were recovered by divers. In 2015, over 4 million in gold coins was brought up.
All right, yeah!
Gold and silver coins are still occasionally found by lucky people walking the Florida beaches today. 3 ships from the doomed fleet have still not been found. Their treasure may today be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. For our next lost treasure, we traveled to Southeast Asia. Number 2, the Sultan's sunken treasure. In the 16th century, the world's first global superpower was Portugal.
Oh, really?
Yes, really. As they expanded their empire, they sailed to conquer small kingdoms in Asia. Their flagship in the region was the Flor de la Mar, one of the biggest ships of its time. It carried a crew of over 400 sailors with 50 cannons. In 1511, it was commanded by Admiral and Governor Alfonso de Albuquerque, and they sailed to battle the Sultan of Malacca. When the Sultan fled, they looted his palace and treasury. The massive royal treasure was said to have 80 tons of gold, with 200 chests of coins, gems, and jewelry. Sailing back with their looted prizes, the ship hit a strong storm in the Straits of Malacca. The Flor de la Mar was blown onto shoals, and the ship went down with most of the crew. Only the admiral and a few others survived. Rumors said locals found the wreck, but discovery of such a massive treasure would not have gone undetected. Today it would be worth as much as $2 billion. It waits below the sea for a determined lucky treasure hunter. Our final story was British treasure lost in a big American city. Number 1, New York's lost gold. When people think of New York City's wealth, they picture billionaires living in skyscrapers or Wall Street. But this big city also has a big lost treasure. The story starts back during the Revolutionary War, when the British controlled New York. The Navy warship HMS Hussar was docked there, with 28 cannons aboard and 50 American prisoners. Also below deck, a big Army payroll. There were dozens of chests filled with gold and silver coins to pay British soldiers. With enemy troops closing on the city, in 1780, the Hussar set sail. Captain Charles Pole was warned that the quickest East River route through Hell Gate was risky. He ordered to sail through it anyway. Then the Hussar struck a huge submerged rock and the ship was doomed. Pole and his crew survived, but none of the prisoners did. The ship was sunk under 80 feet of water off the city's shoreline. Trying to keep the treasure away from the Americans, the British denied the massive payroll existed. Meanwhile, they tried to recover the gold, but they only pulled up a few cannons. As decades passed, other ships sank from the Hell's Gate rocks. So in 1885, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers took a whole lot of explosives and blew up the rocky shipping hazards of Hell Gate for good. The explosions might have scattered over 100 million in treasure all over the East River. More treasure hunters tried to find the gold, but the fast current and shifting silt below denied them. They only recovered a few coins, timbers, and more cannons. As New York grew in the 20th century, part of Hell Gate Channel was filled in with dirt for land reclamation. Did they cover up the Hussar with landfill? Nobody knows. It's now part of the Bronx with apartment buildings.
Interesting.
So after all this, millions in British treasure was sunk, then blown up, then possibly buried under a high-rise building. To this day, it remains the biggest lost treasure in New York. Wow, that's a lot of unfound treasure. Searchers keep looking for these today. Sunken treasure is hard to find, but with new technologies, some of these lost billions might be located. Before you go, please subscribe to the channel and click on notifications. Thanks for watching the show. Say goodbye, Cree.
Goodbye.
Ciao for now.